Hello, friends.
We're back.
Yes, we're back with the Cinemondo podcast, and we're going to talk about One Piece again. A bit of a break from One Piece, but now we're back.
It was a long arc. We had to take
Yeah.
our time to watch it. They all three had to align. Life happens, but here we are.
Yeah.
It's the 10th story arc, so we're at number 10.
Wow.
It's called the Drum Island arc, also
Yes.
referred to as the Drum Kingdom arc, but we'll go with Drum Island arc.
Yeah.
And it was episodes 78 through 91, so it was a lot. It was a long arc. And I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite arcs so far. I love this.
You loved it. And what about we had Little Garden was the one previous, so we went from Little Garden to Drum Island, and Little Garden was completely different and maybe not our favorite.
I had some issues with Little Garden. Yeah, it's a little dark. There's a whole lot of animal killing in there, which we always have problems with. But as
I feel like the characters were being really lame.
Yeah, and sort of idolizing the whole idea of this ongoing feud kind of thing, which is in general considered to be sort of a stupid thing when people are fighting about something they've forgotten what they're fighting about. It's not some honorable thing, but it was treated in that arc as this, like, Luffy and Usopp were just like, oh, it's so amazing that they just fight each other for 100 years and they don't even know why. And that, to me, it was kind of a weird message. I don't know, but it ended kind of on a slightly promising note, and then they went on to then suddenly poor Nami gets a fever, and they're like, they need to go back to Arabasta, where Princess Vivi needs to get back to her people because there's civil war issues going on. So they're really hurrying back to the island, to her island, but on the way Nami gets sick, and so they're like, we have to find somewhere closer, we have to find a doctor. So they pull up to this island, and
up to this island,
like
parked in the front parking lot.
And it's the Drum Island. That's where
Drum Island.
And what I love about these arcs is they're all very different in just where they exist, the tone. So this one's like in a very cold place. It was almost like everything's covered in snow. It's like everything seems, just different overall. But
it's like Star Wars. Now we're on Hoth.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So that was what I was encouraged by. Is I love the giant bunnies, the characters that introduced very early on, that Luffy keeps calling polar bears. He keeps calling them polar bears, but they're these giant bunnies. I loved them.
It's a little Monty Python-esque. The big
big pointed teeth. And they were huge, and they were kind of like guarding the mountain. That was their territory. And I was getting worried because I'm like, oh no, I don't want another little garden where they just wipe out animals left and right. And that's just, that's just our thing.
But that didn't happen this time.
But it did not happen. And actually, I was like amazed how restrained Luffy was, because you think he'd be like, let's kill them all, but he was all like, we'll just hide from them for a while till they go away. I'm like, there's a whole different attitude in this.
Well, he was at that point carrying sick Nami on his back.
But he still would be easy to just wipe him out.
Trudging through the snow. What this episode to me represents with that whole sequence is the devotion of a friend, like the friendship of, and that is the theme that I think got lost in the last arc.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody was fighting.
Everybody was like, just going
it wasn't
at each other.
It wasn't a team effort. It wasn't like all for one for all. Straw Hat Pirates. Let's go and get.
Luffy seemed mad all the time.
Yeah,
yeah. And in this one, it gets back to that theme of friends, and Sanji, is back in love with Nami and all that. And so when Nami is
still annoyed
sick,
by him.
But when she gets sick, the whole thing becomes, we have to help Nami, no matter what. And I remember there's a great sequence when they're trudging up. They have to go through the snow and then up one of these drum mountains, which is like a giant column. It's like a giant candle on a birthday cake or something.
Yeah,
where there's the only doctor lives.
Only
at the top
doctor
of
on
that
the island.
thing. And it's like he has to climb like 3 miles up the side of this thing carrying Nami and at that point Sanji. And he's doing it in that way that's like, I have to do this. They're my friends.
Determined.
I cannot give up.
No doubt he's saving her. He's going.
and they get up there and they meet the doctor, Dr. Kureha, who was
Doctor's awesome.
Yeah.
interesting looking, this long-legged, gorgeous, hot, woman with an interesting and much older face.
And she's 134 years old, apparently. So, so that was really funny because she's very rock and roll looking. Like she has the crop top, she has the boots, the kind of bell bottoms. Like she's
like
very, very cool.
Evil ring, like a belly button ring.
She was very funny. So I loved her. And so she's like, the witch doctor. It's all they got. And they're like, well, I guess we have to use a witch doctor, but it turns out she's actually skilled. She actually knows what she's talking about.
And I have to say, I really enjoyed the voice talent. I don't know who, I hate to say it, I don't know who did the voice, but whoever the actress did the voice of Kureha did an interesting job. There was some really funny inflections and the way she would say things that were sort of pointed and there was a lot of depth to the character that came through the voice.
Yeah.
And what about her assistant?
Yeah, and she has a very adorable assistant named Chopper, who's got a troubled past that we learn about. And
it was so cute. I was dying. We have the bunnies, we have the reindeer. I was like, oh my God, I'm like in heaven right now. I was so loving it. And I like that he was really smart. Like he was a scientist kind of. He was a doctor. He wants to be a doctor. He's a little cute reindeer that's a doctor. So he was like totally helping her. And he was not just like the sidekick. Like he was legit like skilled also. He'd been trained by a guy who rescued him because he had eaten the fruit. And so now he got he was able to shapeshift into different reindeer kind of affects, but one's like a fighting form, one is so the other reindeer didn't accept him, so he's kicked out like Rudolph kind of,
because it was blue nose. He had the blue nose versus the red nose, He
was just a little baby, and it was mean to see the reindeer kick him around. So the doctor rescued him.
The original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer story is really evil. I mean, the other reindeer wouldn't let him play the reindeer games, and it's like when you think about it, it's like what a bunch of jackasses. Like Santa Claus's reindeers, all of them are jerks, Yeah.
And when you think about it, it really was kind of another Island of Misfit Toys. He's hanging out with like this doctor who was kind of everything he did kind of ended up in a big mess.
Yeah.
But he worshipped him because he helped him, and he helped kind of train him and can start teaching him the ropes. But then he ends up with the witch doctor, and again, these strange characters together. I thought it was awesome. I just loved it.
Yeah, and Chopper is an interesting choice. I mean, when you think about the entire show, there's so much incredible character design and character development, and the fact that the characters are so outrageous and so unhinged, and the design of the characters is so broad and out there. It's almost absurd how crazy these characters are, and yet you still love them. You buy into them, and you get into them. A lot of it is the performance, the voice performance. A lot of it, which we're watching the dubs. We're watching the English dubs, and who knows how incredible the Japanese voice artists are. But whoever the English dubbing people are doing a great job, I think, and also the writing, the world building, and the what I was telling you guys earlier. I think this episode kind of gives the best of what so far I feel about One Piece, in that sometimes it approaches like high literature, almost like poetry in some ways. There's really touching moments in there in the middle of all this wild, exaggerated character design.
That's right. And one of my favorite scenes early on is when Luffy is carrying Nami up the mountain, and there's a fight with the Loppins. Is that what they're called? Loppins?
Yeah.
And they cause an avalanche. And so then as he continues his way up there, he sees a little baby Loppin, and he sees a big paw sticking out, and he's trying to dig, and there's the cutest sounds somebody's making for that rabbit. He's like, and he's trying to dig out the paw, and it's not working. And then here comes Luffy, and he turns around, and he's like, trying to be all fierce. He's this little tiny cute. Oh my God, I'm dying. And then when Luffy gets closer, he kind of just comes and the little baby starts cringing. It's so sad. He's trying to be fierce, but he gets scared.
Yeah.
And Luffy just kind of pulls the animal out of the snow, and it looks like it's probably his mom. And he just kind of, and he does it just without no big flourish. He just kind of, here you go, boom, just keeps going. But he took a moment, even though Nami's in trouble and sick, and he has this mission. He stopped for that moment to do something with grace, and he helped this little baby animal. So that was
a heartwarming moment, and there's a lot.
Oh my God, I loved it. So well done too. Just well illustrated.
It's beautifully illustrated, and also the attention to detail, because when he pulls the big rabbit out, it's got a scar, and you realize, I remember when he first encountered the rabbits, they showed one that had a scar like that. So you're like, that was one of the rabbits.
The same one.
He helped them. So that was a really cool moment, because we just seen so much carnage in the last arc that it was nice to see them a kinder, gentler One Piece, at least for a few moments. So I did enjoy
that act of kindness paid off too, because later they have sort of an alliance with the rabbits, and you get the idea that, and this is something I'm reading into this very deeply here, but there is a depth to the show.
There is. I think subtext is important in this.
It's one of those things that when you hear about wars, we're hearing about wars right now, people fighting back and forth, and you hear about the statistics, X number of people, and all these horrible statistics. And this points out the fact that there's this big fight, this big giant fight, back and forth, fight. And then when everything calms down, you see the impact of that. You see a baby crying because a mother is buried in the snow.
Right.
And it sort of points out the personal, I know it's a cartoon, but the personal impact of
it's
war.
Affecting. That's right.
For a show to go for as many years as it did, as many episodes, it has to have that depth. Otherwise, you're just watching one, sort of adventure from another without, you need that depth to it, to each character, that you care about that. And you get that. I mean, we're 90 episodes in.
Mm-hmm.
And so you already have that. And imagine what it's going to feel like when you watch the 1000th episode,
That's right. It's a very good point. And, I think part of it is because it could get very numbing to watch like this cartoon, animation, and then you're watching these characters, these crazy outlandish things, and it could get really numbing, but they bring to you, like, they surprise you with the amount of heart and like emotion that they're bringing to it. And so you're on board, because you're like, I'm not just watching this passively, I'm actually getting involved and caring about the characters. I'm caring about what's going to happen to the people on the show. And that's, I think, magical. Like, I don't know how they do it. It's just, I guess it's just great writing and good production.
And
that was fantastic. And I have to say, Chopper is, when I saw him, I'm like, oh my God, love his character so much. I was sad thinking at the end of this arc we wouldn't see Chopper anymore. And I was so happy to hear he is now part of the team. I was so excited. I was like, oh, thank God they're taking Chopper with him.
Because so many characters sort of just fall away.
They just go away and you don't see him again.
Yeah.
I was really excited to see a really good character be picked up and carried along, because I think that's going to be really fun. I mean, that, again, we're new to this. I don't know who's going to come and who's going to go. So this was a huge moment for me to see. I love that. So much.
I mean, think back on characters that you thought were going to be crew members, like Kobe or something. You're like,
where's he been? He's just gone.
He may come back.
He may come back. Yeah,
he might. We don't know. But really, really enjoyed this episode. There was a lot of layers. We have the big bad that we know is going to be a battle at the end. We have some cool new characters, but in between, we had these really great stories within stories that were all so strong and affecting. And I thought this really, really was a strong arc for me. I just loved it.
Yeah, me too. And secondary characters like Dalton, who is the tough guy on the island that used to work for the bad guy. The bad guy was a king. He was like a really bad tyrant king who kidnapped all the doctors and made people, if anybody got sick, you had
20 doctors. What are you going to give me to have my doctors help you? It's like, oh,
get on your knees and bow to me, or I can't see the doctor. And so this guy who used to work for that king became disillusioned with the whole thing. And we see in flashbacks how that started to happen, which involved Chopper and Chopper's mentor, and it was a great scene, that scene where Chopper, I mean, I don't want to get into the super details, but the scene where he starts crying, where Dalton is crying, and the just great moments in this episode, great dramatic, moving moments where I felt like, wow, that was a beautiful moment.
It really was. I mean, I was shocked how
Yeah.
beautiful it could be. So, yeah, this definitely, totally made up for the things I didn't
Yeah, it
love
kind of
about the
brought
last
us
one.
back, and I just think that there's so it's like, what's the next adventure? Like I always think, like, are the arcs written by different writers? Like, are there teams doing each? It's just
I
it's
don't
an
think so.
interest. No,
Yeah.
it's amazing though that it kind of switches like that, and who knows
Yeah.
what the next arc will bring, what the tone of that will bring.
I know. I'm so scared.
That makes it interesting though. You don't
It
know
does.
what you're going to get.
Chopper will be there. I'll be happy about it.
As long as Chopper's there, it doesn't matter.
Chopper's there. That's what I care about.
So the Drum
And it looks
Island
like
arc.
we get our characters are developing too, which is interesting. It seems like in this arc, we started seeing a little bit more like muscle power with our crew. Like Zorro is working out with the weights, and it seems like
we literally saw more muscles. He's shirtless through the whole thing, even though it's like 0 degrees.
Well, he seems to be turning into, like, because before he was kind of like this willowy kind of slender, but now he's turning into a muscle guy, and it seems like Luffy is too. There's some scenes where you see Luffy like being more adult, like they're growing, like some years past or something.
Yeah,
it'd be really easy just to like, because a lot of animation does this. The characters are always the same, like Scooby-Doo or something. Not that I'm trying to literally use Scooby-Doo, but they never change. That's the whole charm of it, is that they're the same characters doing fun things over and over. I like there's an evolution of characters physically and emotionally. So
yeah, if Hanna-Barbera was doing it to be the same character through the whole thing, but
I didn't mean to insult One Piece by comparing it to Scooby-Doo. That was the first thing I could think of. Oh my god, it's way better.
Well, yes. What's the name of the next arc? Do we know?
The next one is the Alabasta arc, the Alabasta saga.
That's the 11th arc. Okay.
Or actually, the Alabasta arc is the 11th story arc in the One Piece. Is also the 5th and final arc in the Alabasta saga.
Gotcha.
So
so
they
this
have
is
sagas, and then they have arcs within the saga.
Right.
So this is
the
the
final
arc in the Alabasta saga.
So that
it's
means
a long one too.
There might be some big stuff happening at the end here if it's the end of the saga.
Yes.
So interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how the live action, where they're going to pick up and where they're going to continue the story, because I would love to start seeing them bring this in. I want to see Chopper in the.
I know, how are they going to do live action Chopper?
CGI.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe it's a person in a reindeer costume. I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll say, let's just skip over the whole reindeer thing.
Oh, that would be
it would be a waste. So they need to do it.
They
need to do it. Maybe they'll figure something out. There is movie magic.
Well, One Piece coming through. It's a great show. Thanks very much for watching, and we can't wait to come back another episode when we talk about that saga, that arc.
Right. Yeah. We'll be faster this time. Okay.
We're back on the open sea with One Piece here. We're
sailing.
Where's our straw hats? Come on. I got here somewhere. Okay, everybody.
Straw hats next time. Okay.
Bye, everybody.